Welcome to RA Solutions. In this episode, we will be discussing values driven leadership, in particular, the leadership compass. But before we continue, please like, subscribe, and share. Let me ask you this. Have you ever worked for someone who checked every box on paper but left you uninspired? That's the trap of focusing solely on strategy or decision making, what I call checklist leadership. Sure, tactical thinking and performance metrics matter, but without a backbone of values, all you're left with is transactional management. It's a bit like driving a high speed car with no GPS impressive, but you're bound to get lost. Now, you might be thinking, wait, aren't results the whole point? Well, let's dig deeper. Because when leaders lack core principles, success gets fragile like a sandcastle at high tide. Think about the concept of moral authority, that invisible force that makes people want to follow, not just comply. Without it, leadership risks becoming inconsistent or worse, self serving. So, if you're aiming for impact that lasts longer than the next quarterly report, stick with me. Let's see how values flip the script on what makes a leader truly effective. Picture this, you're trekking through a dense forest, no map, just instinct. That's what value less leadership feels like. The leadership compass is your North Star, a set of 10 values that keep leaders from wandering off course. Think of it like having both a compass and a map, direction and destination. Now, some folks ask, why complicate things with 10 values? Isn't one enough? Great question. The answer is nuance. Leadership isn't one dimensional, and neither are people. Each value acts kind of like a gyroscope, keeping you balanced through turbulence, whether it's a heated boardroom or a crisis in the field. Um, so let's unpack these values one by one and see how each adds depth and resilience to the leadership journey. Let's start with justice. Now, don't picture a judge with a gavel, think more about fairness in everyday decisions. Justice in leadership means treating people consistently so trust can actually take root. Ever notice how favoritism poisons morale? That's what I call the unequal scales problem. When leaders play favorites, they erode something called psychological safety, and suddenly nobody wants to take creative risks. Here's the kicker, just decisions aren't always popular. You might have to tell your star player no for the sake of the team, but consistency think algorithmic fairness shows everyone the same rules apply. If you're still wondering, isn't justice just common sense? Let me tell you, it's the most commonly ignored value in a crisis. When the pressure's on, shortcuts tempt even the best of us. Resolution: every leader needs an internal fairness checklist. If your actions would make tomorrow's headlines, would you stand by them? If yes, you're pointing north. Now, imagine a leader who never listens like a boss, who thinks Zoom is a one-way mirror. That's what happens without consultation. Consultation means pulling ideas from every corner of the room, not just the loudest voice. It's a bit like running data through a neural network. The more inputs, the smarter the output. Someone might ask, but doesn't too much consultation slow things down? Sure, it can if you let it get out of hand. But done right, it sharpens decisions and creates buy-in, a win-win. Um, Here's a story. I once watched a project tank because the team never ask frontline staff for their feedback classic echo chamber mistake. The fix: make consultation a structured ritual. Use brainstorming or round robin formats, think agile sprints, but for ideas. That's when consultation fuels not just decisions, but real innovation. Let's talk about trust. Ever worked for a leader who micromanaged every move? That's a trust deficit at work. True leadership flips the script from authority to responsibility. It's a lot like cloud computing leaders provide the platform, but the real work happens at the edge with their people. Now, you might be asking, how do I earn trust if I'm new? Great question. Start small, keep promises, admit mistakes, and delegate real decision power. When leaders treat trust as a loan, something to be paid back with interest, it grows. But treat it like an entitlement, and it vanishes faster than a deleted file. Resolution: trust is built in increments. Show you're in it for your people, not just your title, and watch loyalty skyrocket. Raise your hand if you've ever worked with a know it all boss. Yeah, we've all been there. That's what happens when humility is missing from the equation. Humility in leadership isn't about self deprecation, it's about openness to new ideas. Think of it as intellectual humility, the ability to admit you don't have every answer. Some leaders worry, won't humility make me look weak? Absolutely not. In fact, studies in organizational behavior show that humble leaders drive more innovation because their teams feel safe to contribute. Here's the conflict: pride creeps in, especially after a big win. But if you let humility anchor you, communication becomes a two-way street: less ego, more progress. So, next time you're tempted to say, I know best, pause and ask for input. You might be surprised by what your team brings to the table. Let me paint a picture. A leader makes a mistake. Do they own up or sweep it under the rug? That's the accountability moment, and it's huge. Accountability is more than blame, it's transparent responsibility. It's like version control in software development. Every change is tracked, and everyone knows who did what. Now, you might be thinking, does full transparency make leaders vulnerable? Maybe. But nothing kills trust faster than cover ups or finger pointing. The conflict: owning up feels risky, especially when stakes are high. But the resolution is clear transparency breeds respect and credibility, not just compliance. So, build a culture where mistakes are learning moments, not career enders. That's when accountability empowers, not punishes. Let's shift to compassion. Yup, I said the C word that some leaders avoid. But hear me out. Compassion isn't coddling, it's recognizing people as, well, people. In psychological terms, think empathy quotient, the ability to measure and respond to emotional signals. Teams with high emotional intelligence outperform those with low EQ by 20% or more. Now, someone might say, aren't we here to work, not hold hands? Fair point. But here's the twist: people don't quit jobs, they quit leaders who don't care. Compassion shows up in small acts: checking in after a tough week or supporting someone through a challenge. It creates loyalty that no bonus can buy. Resolution: leadership by compassion isn't weakness, it's a superpower that forges teams able to weather any storm. Patience. Not the flashiest value, but maybe the most underrated. Um, have you ever watched a leader spiral when things go off script? That's the absence of patience at work. Think of patience as temporal intelligence, the ability to stay calm through uncertainty. It's like buffering a video, wait it out, and the full picture emerges. Now, the challenge. Fast paced environments reward immediate action, not reflection. But here's the paradox: rushed decisions often double back as costly mistakes. If you're thinking patience is for slowpokes, let me tell you, Amazon's two pizza teams spent months iterating before launching AWS. That patience paid off. Patience isn't passive, it's strategic. Practice it, and you'll lead with resilience, not reactiveness. Let's get real. Honesty isn't just about telling the truth, it's about creating a culture where truth is expected, not feared. Honesty works like end to end encryption. It protects the integrity of every message, no matter where it travels in your organization. Now, some will say, is total honesty always smart? It depends. Radical candor honesty delivered with care builds trust, while bluntness can burn bridges. Here's the conflict: it's tempting to sugarcoat tough news, but that erodes credibility over time. If people can't rely on your words, they won't follow your vision. Resolution: build a climate where feedback is safe and honesty is mutual. That's the foundation for respect and ultimately for real results. Let's close with two powerhouse values: service and forgiveness. These are the unsung heroes of sustainable leadership. Service means putting others' success ahead of ego. Think of it as servant leadership, like a network router. Your role is to connect and empower, not bottleneck progress. Forgiveness, on the other hand, treats mistakes as data points, not dead ends. In behavioral science, this is growth mindset, the belief that people can improve with support. Now, you might wonder, doesn't forgiveness let people off the hook? Not at all. It's about learning, not erasing. When leaders forgive, they invite growth instead of fear. The bottom line: service and forgiveness together drive teams that feel valued, and that's where the magic of high performing cultures begins. So, where does all this lead us? Leadership isn't just a position, it's a direction, and values are your compass. Let me tell you a story. The best leaders I've met weren't just skilled, they were remembered for how they made people feel and the culture they left behind. Without values, leadership is fragile quick wins, but quick losses too. With them, you build trust, unity, and results that outlast any one person or project. So, next time you lead, ask yourself, am I following the compass or chasing the map? Because the right direction matters more than any single destination. Lead with values, and you don't just get results, you create impact that endures. Your compass is set. Now, go lead the way. Until next time, look after yourselves and each other. Remember to like, subscribe, and share, and support us at RA Solutions.